So we are looking at organizational context, how project management influences strategy, and how the organizational structure and culture can influence the way a project is executed. And last week, I don't know if you can remember, we indicated that project management is, or they form the building blocks of organization. I'm just quoting. Project management form the building blocks of organizational strategy. Do you remember that? Yeah, why would project management form the building blocks of organizational strategy? Yeah, even before I roll the first slide, I'm asking you questions. Yeah, so what we are interested in today is to try and understand how effective project management contributes to achieving strategies. And then we'll also try to look at the components of an organization strategy. The three main components are the formulation of the strategy, the implementation and evaluation of the strategy. Then we'll see the importance of identifying critical project stakeholders. So we'll look at how we can conduct stakeholder analysis. When we are talking about stakeholders in a project, who are we talking about? We should be able to clearly delineate who the internal stakeholders are and who the external stakeholders are. Then we'll also be interested in different forms of organizational structure. So many of us are conversant with organogram in an organization, and it typifies the organizational structure. The most common organizational structure we are confronted with follows a particular line of thinking. We're saying that when we're dealing with projects, we can change the organizational structure. So we look at three forms of organizational structure. We are also going to look at what we refer to as project management office. And the project management office basically is a central point at which all the resources that are tailored towards achieving the project objectives are situated. The project management office is the central location for the project. Then lastly, we'll look at corporate culture and how culture can influence the success of the project. So I will start off by going back to my question. When we say strategy, project management are foundation blocks of organization strategy. And we know that the organization strategy fits into the vision, the mission of the organization. Why would the manager say that project management are the foundation or the building blocks of an organization's strategy? Remember that, let me help for now. Remember that when we are talking about a project, last week we indicated that a project cuts across different functional areas. I get it. All these different functional areas, though individually working towards achieving the organizational objective, the integration of all the functional areas makes it easier. The integration of it makes it easier for the realization of the organization's objective. That is why we say, and if you also look at it, projects are just subsets of what the organization actually intends to achieve. So if you split all of the organization's mission, whatever they want to attain, into separate or different projects, it will mean that when one project becomes a success, that means that part of the organization's mission, part of its vision is being achieved. That is why we say that they are the building blocks of an organization's strategy. Now, it is tied to strategic management. When we are talking about organization strategy, we are basically talking about strategic management. And strategic management looks at a number of issues that cuts across all the different functional areas in the organization. And all of them are geared towards what? Achieving the objectives of the organization. I have been repeating this since the last lecture. The fact that the mission, the vision statements are critical aspects of an organization's what? Strategy, and critical aspects of strategic management. And we want to emphasize that the three critical components of strategic management are formulating the strategy, implementing the strategy, and putting in place mechanisms to be able to evaluate and make sure that the strategies you have put in place actually led to the objective, realizing the objectives of the organization. Strategic management also is not also linear, it's non-linear in the sense that it cuts across different organizational sectors or functional areas, all of that geared towards achieving them. Now, I want us to look at how the two are closely related to each other: strategy and project management. Strategy and project management. And we'll just pick one of these, and then we'll try and see if each of us can give a specific example. So for instance, the first one, if you look at it, is the strategy of the organization may be technical or operating initiatives, such as new distribution strategies or decentralized plant operations. To be able to achieve this strategy, the organization may decide that they will commission a project to be able to achieve that strategy. And the project will be geared, the project will be construction of new plants or modernizing their facilities. I'll give you a practical example. We always say that UDS School of Business, we say in our vision that we want to be student-centric and create high-quality, world-class leaders. That's our vision, it's part of our vision mission. To be able to do that, we started a strategy to develop cutting-edge programs. So what do you think, to run cutting-edge programs, sorry. So what do you think our project would be to be able to run the cutting-edge programs? Our project will be to develop, are you getting it? To be able to run it, we need to do what? So the project aspect of that strategy, to achieve that strategy, to run cutting-edge programs, produce high-quality leaders, will be to first of all do what? Commission a project to develop the program. Are you getting it? Now, if you look at the third one, new business processes. The organization strategy is to bring on board new business processes for greater streamlining and efficiency. So they are, look at it carefully. New business processes for greater streamlining and efficiency. That's their strategy. It means that they had existent what? Processes. That is why they are interested in new business processes. So to be able, their project will, in order to achieve this strategy, will be what? To re-engineer. The Englishman will say to revitalize. They will bring in maybe technology to change the processes. They will bring in technology to remove the redundant processes. Let's look at another one. Changes in strategic direction or product portfolio reconfiguration. Changes in strategic direction or product portfolio reconfiguration. That's their strategy. And to be able to achieve that, they will commission a project that is geared towards what? Bringing on board new product lines. This is how strategy and projects are related. Let's see if we can give other practical examples of a strategy and the possible project that can go with it in order to achieve that strategy. The strategy of the MIS department, Business Analytics and MIS department, is to produce MBA students who are tailored for the industry and also would have possible routes to pursue a PhD and stay in academia. So this is our strategy for this particular program, for the MBA. What could be the possible project we can commission to make sure that when you guys graduate, you'll be professional? If you want to do a PhD, you can also do that.
So the project would be,
the
project would be in terms of training is to towards the academia. The project would be to kind of get a intensive, very proper research.
Okay, so that's one. Remember that the strategy is that you become suitable for academia. You are also suitable for industry. Yeah, so if your research work is on point, that's one.
A more practical.
Yes, so it means that this delivery. So before we can even get to this delivery, the development of the program should have actually factored research components and industry components in place. Any practical example from an organizational, your organization?
So I would say that as judicial service.
Okay.
They are looking at having more professional staff in terms of registers.
Okay.
And in terms of contracts.
Okay.
And
so if you can speak a bit louder. He's given an example in the judicial service
So I'm saying that
okay.
at the judicial service, the strategy is to get more professional registrars and court clerks.
Okay.
So that lawyers are not easily able to maneuver their way to, in terms of say documents they are not supposed to have access
to. Okay.
And what the clerks are supposed to do in order to bring justice to the people. And so the project is to train current clerks and registrars with an equivalent of LLB.
Okay.
So that they are more abreast with the law,
Mm.
and what they are supposed to do.
Okay.
And to also look into the future and bring in only LLB holders.
Okay.
To come and occupy those positions.
Okay.
So that if you are a registrar and you are not even an
LLB holder,
you are not qualified. Become a registrar.
Okay. Okay. Now my second question. So if you look at his example and the example we have been looking at, we are basically trying to achieve an alignment between strategy and what? And the project. Is there a case where there could be a disalignment? Is there a case where there could be a disalignment between strategy and the project? And what could be the possible consequences? I'll give a typical example in a political landscape or in an organization that is highly polarized towards corruption. The organization has a strategy, but to be able to achieve the strategy, a project is commissioned that is not geared towards achieving that strategy. We have all seen that in our organizations, and we will call that a chop-chop. That project is just chop-chop. So they would commit resources to the project. They will pretend that they are doing something to realize a particular objective, but they are engaged in some clandestine activities. In the end, resources are consumed, but the strategy is what? It's not in alignment with the strategy. So most often than not, corruption within projects come or result because of misalignment between what? The strategy and the what? The project. If that, yes.
And laptop they give teachers.
The laptop they give teachers.
That laptop is a project.
It's a project, yes. The ICT capabilities of teachers, yes.
The goal is to improve the education.
Yes.
But it's not like perfect.
Yeah.
Don't even use it for anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the bigger it was to enhance the ability.
Yeah.
To be more than.
Yeah. So if we turn it up, let's just turn that upside down to enhance delivery and ensure quality. We are basically to enhance or ensure quality education delivery. So ICTs are provided to what? So the project would be that. So the strategy would have been to enhance proper delivery and make sure. Then the project would have been to provide ICT equipment and training to the teachers. So you see that even with this one, there's some alignment. But if you are not critical, you are manager and you are not critical, there could still be some disalignment because the kind of ICT equipment that are provided to achieve that objective could be inferior. Yeah, the training could also be what? Inferior. They pretend there's training, but it's just to go and chill out, come back, and everybody would sign and go. Many of us in our organizational context, or even at the undergraduate level, may have come across the term SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis, basically, we're saying we want to understand or identify the organization's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, in project management, we say that let's turn it upside down. Because the emphasis of the SWOT analysis is what? Your strength and your weakness. That's basically the emphasis is on the first two. Identifying your strength and your weaknesses before your opportunities. If you turn it upside down to identify your threats and opportunities, then it becomes a TOS matrix. It becomes, so if you look at it, traditionally what we know is SWOT, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Are you getting it? And mostly when we are talking about opportunities, let's look at SWOT analysis. When we are talking about strengths and weaknesses, we are talking about the internal happenings internal happenings in the organization. So you are interested in the strength of the organization, the weakness of the organization. But when you are looking at opportunities, what are you looking at? You are looking at it externally. You are also looking at the threats that could come from your competitors, regulatory bodies, and many other rival organizations. Are you looking at it? But if we turn it upside down to look at the TOS matrix, we want to concentrate on the threats and then what? The opportunities. We deal with the threats and the opportunities. Let's see in the matrix the permutations we can have. So we have external opportunities, external threats, internal strengths, and then what? Internal weaknesses. And here we have the SO, strength and what? Opportunities. Maxi strategy. We are maximizing our strengths. We are maximizing. So we are combined. So the importance of this over the SWOT analysis, if you look at this particular part, especially, we are not only just looking at the internal happenings, but we want to combine that with what is happening. So we have maxi. We develop projects that use strengths to maximize opportunities. There's often this saying that often people say that sometimes people just get opportunity. You get an opportunity, and then before your colleagues realize you are on top of your organization. There are a lot of opportunities out there. Before you can tap into those opportunities or leverage on them, you must have been prepared. Yeah. So if you are not prepared, many times, even daily, opportunities come and fly past. Why? Because we're not prepared. I get it. So identifying our strengths and leveraging on that to be able to maximize the opportunities is the most maximum. Then we have maxi-mini strategy, developing projects that use strengths to minimize threats. Strengths to minimize threats. So here we're looking at internal again. Here's what? External. Then this one, minimax strategy. Developing projects that minimize weaknesses by taking advantage of what? The opportunities. And then the last but not the least, mini strategy. Develop projects that minimize weakness and avoid threats. You are not even trying to minimize the threat. You just completely do what? You completely avoid them. In all of this, for you to be able to leverage a lot on the TOS matrix, you must first of all know your stakeholders. Who are you dealing with? So if we are looking at opportunities or we are looking at threats, the threats could likely come from people from outside their organization. Not so. Our regulatory bodies, GRA is after us, maybe FDA or some other standards authority. Our competitors, they are also outside. We have to identify them. Then we also have to identify, even within the organization, who are the critical stakeholders. So let's look at how we can engage stakeholder. Yeah, when we say stakeholder, basically, what do we mean? Let me ask this. Who is a stakeholder? Yes. Yeah. Yeah, some people who have interest. Yeah, either in the organization, the project, or whatever. Okay. And so for us to be able to conduct stakeholder analysis, we must first of all identify our stakeholders. I want us to identify the different. So within the organization, we can have internal, external stakeholders. Within the project, we can also have stakeholders. You agree with me? Within a project, because we are carving a smaller niche within the organization to delve deeper to ensuring that we achieve this particular organizational strategy by drawing on some strengths within or across departments. So we bring people from different departments, put them together in a team, and we call it what? A project. We have a project manager. So the stakeholders would be little bit, though a subset of the organization's bigger stakeholders would be a subset of the organization. The project stakeholders would be the individuals or the groups who have active stake in the project, and can potentially impact either positively or negatively its development. Would you consider somebody who is key in the organization, but is not part of the project team and could have a critical influence on the project. And you know, there are people like that in an organization. You don't include them in the team, they sabotage it. You include them in the team, they will sabotage it. Where will you place this? Is this guy a stakeholder? When he is part of the team or he's not part of the team? Is he a stakeholder? Is he a stakeholder? We're saying that project stakeholders are defined as all individuals or groups who have an active stake in the project and can potentially impact it either positively or negatively, this development. So let's look at the two carefully. In one breath, this guy is part of the project, and we know there's no way we can execute this project without he being part. He's a key member. You add him to the team, there's going to be negativity. You don't add him to the team, there's going to be anybody who has encountered such a person as very toxic. There are people like that. I used to have a boss like that, very toxic. Yeah, it's either me or me. Yeah, we have people like that. So sometimes you will be trying hard to make sure that sometimes even project duration, people like that, they'll make sure whatever you do, you meet the deadline. You do everything fine, but you may, because he will always come back, criticize, and make an input. Let's identify the different kinds of project stakeholders, especially the internal ones. Let's identify the internal stakeholders. Those involved in the project would be the users of the project. Yeah, the clients of the project, are they within the organization? They are external.
Some are internal.
Others are functional heads.
Okay, the functional heads. Okay.
Yes, for example, the HODs.
Okay, the HODs. Okay, yeah, functional heads. Any other? What about the top management?
Yes.
Top management, accountant, other functional managers. He mentioned HODs, so they will be the in an educational setting. They are the functional managers, and then project team members. Maybe other lecturers have been brought to be part of it. So here in an educational setting, the dean, the vice dean, yeah, we may not directly be involved in the project, but we superintend over it. The accountant, resource management, yeah, resource management. Then yes.
Well, internal stakeholders, I'm thinking of it to possibly the school of business projects. Everybody in the station should be an internal.
Some of them are not.
It depends.
Yes.
So
somebody in the medical school,
Like, I'm not sure whether last time, I'm not sure, some of the lecturers weren't.
No, so when it comes to the
Actually
general
from the-
objectives and the school of business, then everybody is involved. But when it
everybody in the school of business.
yes, it's
Okay,
involved.
yeah.
When it comes to departmental and what do you call it, courses like MIS, it's not everybody
That's
involved.
but then the success of MIS.
Will lead to the bigger. So you are looking at it in the context of the mission. In the context, so we are just focusing on. So look at it carefully. Project stakeholders, just a smaller project. Who are those who have active stake? So people in medical school, other faculties, they will not have. They have no active stake in it.
The success
Sure.
The success of this project. If we do have a on the program.
Sure,
I
but
was thinking internal stakeholders are any staff of the organization working towards their bigger.
what do they don't have any role to play. They are not actively taking part, so they will not be. They will not be part of it.
Even widen it from your perspective. If they are able to achieve much, then you can say even the whole North may be proud of what.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that.
We are all stakeholders. Governments are.
So in that case, we are looking at it from a different, external. So in that case, we are looking at external clients, competitors, suppliers, environmental, political, consumer, and other groups far and wide. They all become part of it. How are they related in terms of the project? Somebody within the project oversees the internal runnings of the project, all the different kinds of stakeholders. So even the CEO of the organization, like the VC, the VC of the parent organization, that is UDS, will have a relationship with the project manager. So for instance, me and the VC, there will be some kind of a relationship. But that doesn't mean that they have a direct stake when it comes to managing them. When we are developing projects, the VC is pro VC. So they are just waiting. They know, yes, whatever you are going to do will contribute to the realization of the bigger organizational objective, but they don't actively get involved. I remember a scenario. We have undertaken several kinds of projects since our inception. One of it demanded by GTEC is to ensure that this campus becomes an accredited university campus. And they are arguing that since UDS started, they have never accredited this campus. So we are going through the process. And they demand that we do A, B, C. So when the team was coming, we at the school level were insistent that the VC should be part of the team because the Director General of GTEC was coming. So we also felt that our boss also needs to be there. And the VC said, but you guys, you should be able to handle it. I don't know if you understand. He said, but you guys, you can handle it. And it's your level. When I come, would they ask me? And he clearly told me, when I come, would they ask me a question? Even if I'm sitting there and they ask the questions, I will have to direct it to you. Yes. Are you getting it? So he has interest. Though with this particular project, he ended up coming to support us. So the relationship, everything is centered around the project team, the project manager. How can we manage the stakeholders? Last week, I think it was the e-business lecture, we indicated that when we are looking at the organizations, when we are looking at the environment, generally, we are looking at the environment from two perspectives. I don't know if you can remember. We said we have the macro environment and the micro environment. It's very, very important. So in managing stakeholders, we have to do an assessment of the bigger environment. We need to understand that. So there's always what we call assessing the environment, identifying the goals of the principal actors. So managing a project and managing the stakeholders, you were insistent that those at the top, though whatever is going to happen within the project will lead to the organizational, the realization of the organizational strategy or objective, they must be part, but they are not actively part. We still, though they are not actively part, we still have to identify the goals of what? The principal actors, which are aligned with the organization's organization strategy. Then assess our own team's capabilities. Yes, so that will be an internal assessment. Then define clearly what we intend to achieve, and then developing the project solutions as we go along. So later on, we'll see that there are different ways project objectives can be achieved. Those of you who are developers, there's always an iterative process, a back and forth process. You go back and correct. You go back before you finish it. Now, in all of this, to be able to properly execute a project, we have been insistent on the fact that team members or project team members are drawn from different functional areas. And that is why we keep using the term cross-functional, right? Cross-functional. If you look at the organizational structure, we all know you would have so again, using the educational environment, you would have the VC, the pro VC, the registrar, the finance director. Then somewhere you have the librarian, then you have deans, directors, HODs, and then up to the bottom, that way. If you look at it carefully, it resonates the fact that everyone has a particular function and reports to a particular person, right? Now, if we are looking at it from that context, do you think it aligns with the fact that when we draw people from all these different heads, these different schools, and we put them together as a project, do you think that the structure for that project will be the same as the structure of the organization? I'm not sure if my analogy is clear. We have the normal organizational structure, right? So from the CEO, deputy CEO, up to the accountant and whatnot. Now we want to execute a project. So we draw somebody from accounts, somebody from IT, somebody from payroll, somebody from here, then we put them together. In the traditional organizational structure, somebody in the accounts department reports to the finance director, and the finance director reports to the VC. I get it. That's a traditional one. But now that we have brought these people together in a project, those members of that project team don't report to the finance director. Those in the HR will not report to the HR manager. Who will they report to? They report to the project.
One of the transactions of the project.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. So it means that when we are thinking about projects, putting a project together, it means that it will distort the traditional organizational structure. It is also possible that the organization would have the traditional structure, which is functional, and then have a project structure, or just combine the two together to have a more complex structure. So let's look at how organizational structure can. So when we say organizational structure, basically what does it do? It designates formal reporting relationships. We know this already in management. Number of levels in the hierarchy, the span of control. So it means that if even people are arguing over who reports to who, the easiest way is to refer to the organization and see, you are under me. You see, yes, you report. You can't go there up to the top without it passing through me. That is why we have this administrative structure of minuting to this, and then minuting to, so that it will follow the chain of command. Then the organizational structure will also be identifying groupings of individuals into what? Departments. So sometimes, if you look at some organizational structure, you have the top CEO, deputy, whatever, it comes down, then it has departments. Then in that department, you have HOD, head of that department, then maybe deputy in that order. Then design of systems to ensure that there is effective communication. And that's what I was mentioning earlier. We will know the chain of command. Okay. Coordination, it also helps coordination and also helps in integrating what we do across all departments. So when we are dealing with project management, there are different forms of organizational structure we can deal with, or we should think about. First one, functional organizations. It groups people performing similar activities into what? Departments. That's what we all know. We are doing similar things. They will just put you into that department. You have your head, and then that order. So you cannot be in finance and be reporting to HR manager. Yeah, except in organizations where they are still struggling to properly set up and they merge the roles. The HR manager is also there. We have organizations like that. Then we have project organizations where people are grouped into project teams on what? And I like this part, on temporary assignments. And then matrix organizations, creating a dual hierarchy in which functions and projects have equal what? Prominence. So we see that, and this happens a lot in some particular types of organizations, especially IT-related organizations. Organizations that provide IT services. So they have a structure that is clearly indicated that this is the Chief Information Technology Officer, followed by this, followed by that. But if they win a contract to do a particular, to provide a particular service to a particular client, and they put people together, then that traditional structure is put aside, and temporary, the project structure will take charge. But once you are still on the project, there are certain things you still do, and you will report through what? Your traditional, yes. Yes.
I just want to add that really it's when there are projects like in my organization, for instance, if we're implementing this project, there's so much power vested in the project team.
The project team.
Yes. And mostly we call them committees.
Committees.
So, I was recently in a committee of planning. Said that we can invite anybody. We only, like you said, we only report to the project leader.
Okay.
The project leader can even invite the MD. Come and answer some questions.
Some questions. Wow.
Did
you hear that? You can invite the MD to come and answer questions.
Yeah,
okay.
With regards to the project, and you can do so many things as long as the project lasts. Yeah, so it enables the smooth implementation of the project.
Yeah.
Imagine that was not the case. There might be certain things you cross over because it's only the director or the manager or the MD who has that knowledge or
who can reach out that or who can reach out directly to the top man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So project teams are actually very valuable with regards to organization.
Yeah. A very good example of how a project team can disrupt the normal order. Ordinarily, you can't, an HOD cannot speak to an MD on. You can't do that. Yeah. All right, so let's look at the example of a function. We know this is what we know. You see the board of directors, the chief executive officer, vice president for different others who call them HODs, and under them there are different functions. Okay. So what are the advantages? There are advantages of this, the traditional one we know. And I believe you guys can think over your feet to provide, this is your antenna, to provide the advantages and disadvantages of that. We'll just look at one under each. So strength for project management in terms of functional structure. Projects developed within basic functional structure require no disruption or change to firm's design. Weakness for project management. Functional siloing makes it difficult to achieve cross-functional cooperation. You know what functional siloing is? When we set up a project, it means the project does whatever it is set up to do alone and nothing else. That's what we refer to functional siloing. If it is set up to do ABC, that's only what it will do. But you see that the organization does more than ABC. The organization does, the span of control is bigger. Look at this one. Example of a project organizational structure. The board of directors are there. The chief executive is also there. The vice presidents are there. But the functions in terms of sales, marketing, accounting, and all that are not there. But we have projects. And we have Project Alpha and Project Beta. So with Project Beta, marketing, they play a role. Production plays a role. This guy, finance, they play a role. And then these guys also play a role. Are you getting it? But look at the reporting structure. Look at the reporting structure. They have set up somebody like a project manager for the projects. And this is the guy, the vice president of what? Projects. So basically what they have done is that they have disrupted these functional heads. So project execution, this guy is in charge. And he doesn't report to any of these guys. So though ordinarily, the guy in charge of the guy who is in charge of the project, the vice president may have been an accounts head or a sales head or an HR head. By putting them together, not all of them can manage the project. So one person is elected or appointed to manage the project, and all of the other heads now report to him. Even all those who would have been under here reporting to these guys will now be featured under the individual projects. So the reporting requirements will now be that this guy, this particular project, the vice president of projects or the project manager will oversee that project. Let me go back a bit. Look at this. There is no vice president of projects because this is not a functional or a project structure. This is what? A functional. Are you seeing the difference? Okay.
there may be a situation where the vice president of projects would report directly to the board of directors instead of giving.
Is it possible for the vice president of, yes, it's possible. It's possible. And it is possible because if the chief executive officer has a role to play in the project, I get it. Then it means he will also come under this guy. And he will no longer report to the chief executive. So maybe during board meetings, they will call you to come and answer when you have submitted your. Some of us may have been part of committees in our organization where the committee is commissioned by the board of directors, not the CEO. In our political space, we have seen a lot of that. The CEO is probably corrupt. They want to investigate an issue. They commission a committee within the organization, and they say the committee should submit its report to who? The board of directors. So it means that when the committee is set up and starts functioning, they can even call this guy, the chief executive officer, to come and answer questions to what? To the committee. And the report will be submitted to. What are the advantages of this kind of structure? So what are the advantages of this kind of structure? The functional one. Any advantage? Talk. Yeah. In management, they call it red tape, right? Yeah, red tapeism, cut out. Because you don't have to go through somebody, so you report straight to the. Any other? Those online, what could be the possible advantage of a functional organizational structure? So whatever the advantages and disadvantages are, yes. No, this one is not functional. No, this is functional. Do you agree with him? This is functional.
The next one. The next one.
Okay. Get rid of this. Yeah, go on with your points. Okay, I get your cross-functional, point. Yeah. So now ask your question.
So I'm thinking that this one draws perspective from different departments to make.
Yeah, a success. Yeah. I didn't get your question. Okay. Yes, any other advantage? Red tape is reduced. Corruption minimized. How?
Where someone's in the home
Let's look at some. One or two here. Strength and weakness of project structures. Project manager has sole authority. There's improved communication, effective decision making. Weakness, expensive to set up and maintain teams. Chance of loyalty to the project rather than the firm. You have removed people from their departments to temporarily work on a project. Temporarily, they feel that they are not reporting to their autocratic boss. Yeah, so now they know their loyalty is on. So throughout that 6 months, when they come to where they won't greet you. Yeah, when they come to work, they pass you and they won't mind you. Yeah, because even their leave is not determined by you at that point. They can.
You may not even see them.
You may not even see them, and it happens in our organizations every day. Every day. When we started the MBA, the first session, everything was just centralized. Now everything is decentralized. When it was centralized, we were those almost running the show. So every day you see us, we are making sure. But now we have broken into 9 teams. So call that 9 projects. So whether a particular department records their lecture is no longer my responsibility. So I told the HODs, that's now the HOD's responsibility. I don't know if you understand this dynamic. So there were times on weekends, lecturers or HODs who didn't have a course to teach, they will even show up on a weekend. They will come here. So the dean, the vice dean, the graduate programs coordinator, the school, you would then running around. But now, yeah, so if after the management science lecture, everybody they go their various ways. So last week when you start, you would have realized that the man with a beard, your HOD, Dr. He will come in here up and down, just to make sure that his team sorted. So now so you see that a lot of complaints don't come to the main platform. I don't know if you have, that is just a typical example. It goes to the department platform. When they cannot hear, when there's no link, they will send it there. And the HOD, and when they send to me, what do? I don't deal with it. Quickly, I forward to the HOD, because we are now operating what? The project structure. Yes. So let me just finish my point. So next year, for instance, we bring on board another batch. You guys are in your second year and they are their first year. We are going to be running that same centralized one, the functional one, and then the project one. So in that case, we'll be having what? A matrix, a mixed one. Yes, some kind of a hybrid. Yes.
The purpose of that particular structure. I would say optimal terms. It enables a firm to make optimal use of their human resource, because
okay, it depends on the way you organize. Yeah, it depends on the way you organize it, because, or you explain it, because I'm saying that because if you look at this one, expensive to set up and maintain teams. So if you set up a team, and that team, they no longer carry out any function in their departments. They don't do anything at all in their department. They are just concentrating on the team. Does it mean that their departments, activity in their department will cease? No. It means at that level, that department, those who are not part of the project will be stretched to some extent. It's just like in the bank, if some tellers are calling in sick and there's only one teller, or they have been moved to go on training or on some projects. Whatever is happening in the organization will not stop. It will continue, but they will be stretched. People will stay over till late. They will overwork. It means that's what makes it expensive. So that's why I'm saying that it depends on the way you explain it.
Outsource. What's the thing? There are certain projects not to outsource.
Yes, but that's also arguable.
Organization who can do it. I was thinking to save you cost.
So I like that, but outsourcing and in-house issues are always very relative. It depends on the way you explain it. For instance, if you have the expertise, and they are already employees of the organization, in-house would be better, because you are not going to pay them. They are already taking their monthly salary and working on the project. Are you getting? But if you outsource it, they will carry on doing whatever they are doing. You pay them, but you will pay the outsiders too, making it expensive. It depends on the way you argue your point. Okay. Those with practical project management experience, is it possible in an organization the projects would have, the departments are there. We set up a project and we create a project office. The departments are there, department A, B, C, D. We now want to create a new product line, which will involve we bringing on board putting together a cross-functional team. When we put together this cross-functional team, the team, they don't just meet in a boardroom or a meeting room to discuss project and go. We set up a project management office. Is that possible? Yeah, for different kinds of what? Projects. For different, so even within that, so this is a wider coverage. Let's narrow it down to the organizational context and see within the organization, is it possible to now say that, okay, now we'll have that office there. So this particular project, that's a project office. Anybody who can give us a practical example of that? Free? Okay. Can you explain a bit further?
When you teams, they have set up a particular office.
Okay.
Purposely
For free, with free SHS. Okay. Okay. And are they, yes, or are they drawn from existing department, or they are recruited and put there? Okay, they are existing staff. Okay. They don't go back to their organizations. They are departments again. Okay.
And probably when they are done with the project,
when the project is, yeah. So last week I picked something there. Last week she said when they are done with the project, what is the term? When the project is terminated, yeah, then yeah. So project management office. When we say project management office, what do we mean? Is yes.
Take this class, for instance, and other classes. Then we take this one as a project office.
Okay.
As for MIS.
Okay.
So we have the general one, but after science. All time to our officers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, and other ones we also go to their office.
Yeah, we also go to their offices. Yes. So if they need anything, they will have to get those things from that. So it means there's a central unit, their resources, technical, whatever, everything is in that office. They no longer draw from the main pool. Yes.
The All African Games.
Okay.
Now they have done expertise from here. Other stakeholders come together and make sure that particular project is a success. So they even have notice for that.
Okay.
So that if you need anything at all, do that. So after the games, all those staff will go back to their
various offices. Now let's try to see if we can understand some forms or models of project management offices, knowing that project management offices are centralized units that oversee or improve the management of projects. So the resources for the project, kept the technical details, expertise, everything will be there. Now, what are the forms of project management office? 3 forms. That centralized unit could be offering a supportive role, or it could be offering a controlling role or a directive role. How is this done? To offer a supportive role, it means that there's low control. The central unit, which is the project management office. So the project management office, in some instances, may even have admin, 1 or 2 admin staff put there, right? Maybe members of the team. So there's low controls, consultative, and provides project management resources and training. So if you need anything as a member of the team, you go to the project management office, ask for it. As lame as it could be, petty things you need to be able to execute your part of the project, you would go to that particular office for that supportive role they are playing. If it is a controlling one, then the level of control would be a bit a bit high and requires compliance to be adopted, you must follow some standards, and that particular project management office will ensure that. They will not wait till the project is executed. So as and when you are doing it, somebody will come from the project office once in a while. Let's look at construction projects. As the project is going on, somebody will come from the project office to do inspection, even before the external inspector comes. So even within IT projects, there could be somebody, quality assurance, in the project team. So whatever is developed in-house, quality assurance, that guy will make sure that the standard procedures for development are strictly what? Adhered. And there's a last one, directive. And it comes with high control. If you have an autocratic manager, and that autocratic manager becomes part of your project team, this is what, project leader, this is what you have. Directive, high control, and it's always order. This directive, project management office is very prevalent in organizations that has high command, that has a feature of high command control, like security forces. Directive. That's what they are just issuing and rolling out. So in addition to the forms, let's look at some models of project management offices. Some models of project management offices. The first one is the weather station. We could see them in different forms. The project management office could just be there to monitor and track the progress of work. That's just what they are doing. The model is to maintain it, make sure, yeah, just like weather stations do. And then we have the control tower. The project, they see the project management or the project as you guys as having some critical level of skills that needs to what? To put you there.
So I want to get the proper explanation of let me see still explanation of the investigation.
Okay.
And see monitor and track.
Yes. Monitoring and tracking. I use that of the construction projects. So when construction projects are, I think in projects like what these guys do, NEDCO do, even before external, do you have external regulators who would come and monitor? PURC. So even before PURC comes to make sure that everything meets their standards and will be satisfactory to consumers and whatever, you guys will have some internal arrangements to make sure that this project that is going to be executed, there will be somebody who will be part of that team to ensure that the guys are always on the field. Whatever they are doing are up to scratch, even before the external. Do you understand that? So with construction projects, there should always be somebody in the team, an engineer in the team who will go and check the bridges, check the roads, check and make sure that everything is on point. Usually, there's a compromise between this internal guy who is doing the monitoring and the tracking. If there's a compromise between this guy and the external guy, corruption. Usually, the linkage between that guy who is monitoring within the organization, so because he says everything is fine, keeps part of the resources, sees the external guy, gives him part of the resources, and they all okay. A couple of rains, the road gets what? The road gets washed away. Yes.
But in our local construction, can we refer to those there around those for the foreman?
Yeah, foreman. Correct.
Like, you know, there was a quality assurance. Before you like the testing.
In our, we have a problem within the, you are within, you know the problem with our ICT. Yeah. You see, if we had some kind of monitoring and tracking to make sure that when everything is done with the IT unit, we have a quality assurance director, but they don't do that. When everything is done, they will now go into the system before they give it out to students and other hazardous use. They will make sure that these people, what they have done, everything is working. They raise the red flags before it goes out. If you don't have it, you are in serious trouble. So at your end, those of you who are developing local hosts, you make sure everything is fine. Local hosts. So you are doing everything on your PC. Now you go live. That's where the problems will start. That's where the problems will start. Then the last one, resource pool. In IT organizations, usually they will put a number of people together. Also in high command organizations, security forces, they say when the security situation is heightened, there are a particular force they will draw on, not the normal. Yeah, so that project, and sometimes some projects can be kept as docile as possible, as if it's not active. But the project team members know themselves until something critical happens, then they activate it and bring them. In that case, we call that a resource pool. They maintain and provide a cadre of skilled professionals waiting to execute the project as and when what necessary. I believe in the Air Force, you guys, yeah, you guys will do that. Even in the police too, yes. Depending on the nature of the risk, they could either deploy the ordinary guy or call on this particular skill of cadets to deal with the situation. Do you think that? Well, we all know what culture is. You take the lame definitions from JHS or senior high school. They say what? Culture is there. I know you're going to say that culture is what? The way a group of people live. Yeah, way of life. Yeah, so even within organizations, there is a culture. And the culture within the organization can derail project success. Do you agree? The culture within the organization. Can anybody give us a typical example of some kind of culture within his organization? I can give you mine first. Within UDS. Within UDS. You are before the autonomy, you were here, right? Okay, if you were in WA, you realize that WA security, their attitude is different. UDS WA security, the attitude is completely different. UDS WA laborers, attitude different. So you go to the campus, bushy. You call the laborers to do something, they will say, you have to sort them before they will do it. That's their work, but you have to sort them before they will do it. Culture. You report to their boss, maybe the boss cannot even say anything. Here, UDS here, there is some culture. And I'm happy to say that you are with you. I'm happy to say that those of us who were teaching in WA, our attitude to work is different from our colleagues. And our students who graduated from WA and those who graduated on the Kumbu, they have different, the culture is completely, I'm not saying one is better than the other, but the culture is different. Somebody came for an interview for our MBA and he told me, hey, look, I'm interested in your program, but the resource upload, because in why it was a big issue. Lecturers will not upload resource. If you had a problem, you suffer, especially in some. So I had to assure the person, no. This is not wild. This is different. There are also other positive things that, so the culture influences. So embarking on a project within an organization that has a particular kind of culture, that culture can affect the success of the project. And often the culture largely will be unwritten. He says he won't do his liberal, but he says he won't do it. And you say you want to write, you go and report to the boss, and the boss will just sit there and lament. You just lament. I have seen a scenario where someone has said, well, look, I don't know where this junior staff draw their authority from. But if you tell them to do something, they come to work anytime they want, and they leave. Instances where a security will just lock up the place and go and come in the morning to hand over. or a security would, after everybody is gone, he would invite the wife to come. So they are there together. They will lock the office and they are inside. They will be there, done. The wife will hand over. The culture. And nobody can say anything. In other campuses, then you dare not do that. On the Tamale campus, you do not do that. But in other campuses, because of the culture, we would do that. So a lot of things, very much unwritten, yeah, describes our culture, the way we behave, yeah, things that are held by subset of an organization. So if you look at the work, it was just a subset. If you go to Nyampala, another subset, they also have some kind of culture. And you come to the, yes, because of the culture, sometimes you will hear things from others who have a subculture. And you wonder, I have been told or asked why we are quickly running all these programs and doing this, that I am rushing. Culture. Are you getting it? It is the culture. Some people feel that those of us in the business, we are rushing. Because they have been here, they have been there for a very long time, they have not done that. And you have come quickly, 1 year, you are doing all this, you are rushing. Because they are informed by some culture. I'm also informed by some culture because of where I am coming from. So in my view, or in my context, I am coming from an environment, though within BIS, I'm coming from an environment where I have been doing these things. Now you bring me into an environment where those things are what? Non-existent. But I'm used to that. So what do you expect? I will have to create it so that I can continue to do what? Do it. But because they are not part of that culture, so because of culture, you will have to start, if you are in an organization, you have to understand people's orientations before you take a fight with them. Sometimes when you understand that, you just laugh over it. And so maybe he doesn't understand. So you just let him go because of culture. So when new people come, those of us who have experienced the culture as part of project teams, who have experienced some subculture, maybe in different branches or whatever, we will now have to do what? Teach them that culture. Is it possible that a new person can come and resist the teaching of the culture in the organization? Yes. Is it possible? We all individually, we go with different presence. Yeah, individually. There are some people, if you are part of a team, the moment they are not part of the team, maybe a particular day, everybody will feel their absence. That is how they are created. They can come, they won't talk. But because they are just there, things go a particular way. So you can have somebody new in the organization, he'll come and disrupt everything. That's the way he is. He will disrupt everything. Project success will be what? Completely derailed. Looking at all these general factors, let's look at some specific things that can affect culture in our organization. Specific things. Considering where our specialization lies, I mean, all of us, we are all a group of people who are interested in what? Technology. If you're not interested in technology, this is not the course you should be doing. My assumption is that all of us are interested in technology. Key factors that affect culture development today is technology. You cannot be doing MIS when you are not interested in technology or following trends in technology. You'll be in trouble. Trends in technology. So the environment also influences culture. If I move from Y and I come here, I'm transferred here, and I see that here, they just take things laid back, let's say fair attitude. I can also say that, okay, me, I didn't know it's like that too. Then I also get laid back. Join. Geographical location. How can geographical location affect culture development in an organization? Yes.
I was just well because I worked in Oga I worked in one.
Okay.
And I'm working
In Tamale.
So
Yeah.
the geographical location is a key part of influencing organizational culture. Yeah, so the way the staff in Bolga react to issues and how they work in Bolga is very much different from how
we work here.
You think there are different organizations. There is one organization. And the reason mainly is because the geographical location influences the way we work here compared to Bolga.
Yeah.
And so you realize that when it comes to Canada, like just one example, the incidence of illegal connection is so high, so rampant.
Here.
Yes, here, compared to
Bolga.
So the approach of the Bolga staff is a bit
laid back. Yeah.
One person can just go out for illegal connection and maybe he will return with just one incident or two. And he's able to deal with it. But in Tamale here,
yes.
You take 10 houses, about 5 or 6 are doing
illegal connection.
And so you are forced to also use a radical
approach. Yeah.
You are forced to, like the example you give, the response the manager gave you. Probably if it was Bolga, you wouldn't have given
give that response.
That kind of
response.
But the culture here has made me so mad at
yes.
Well, the kinds of things that
happen here.
And so we want to use the same radical approach that the customers
are using to deal with them.
To circumvent the system. So you realize that most at times before we even go out looking for illegal connections, we go out with the military, we go out with people.
Yeah.
It's unheard of in other places.
Yeah.
That we go out
with military. Yeah.
They don't even know what the military is because they don't even need the police to be able to do their work. But this place, you don't do that. They will chase you with
they will chase you. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Like in somebody, people will just get up and do whatever they want. But in Bolga, they are great. The last time I went to Bolga, I'm from Bolga, I'm from Nakongo. Anytime I go to Bolga, I'm so happy. Their grid is so clean. You see the lines, and it's like the transformers there are so many. It's not so crowded. Somebody will build a house, join transformer, and BIS doesn't even know that the person.
The interconnections.
Yes.
Oh, just go and buy some slender cable and join it.
It's clear that there's a face of Bolga. But in Tamale, one area.
Yeah, so let me come in this way. So assuming you are in that environment, laid back, and they bring you here on a project. Yeah. So each project, you need to understand the culture. Not necessarily of that organization, branch, or whatever location they are taken you to, but the individual people, where they are coming from, the team members. So assuming they put a team together, NEDCO puts a team together, team member from Pong, a team member from Tamale, Sunyam, Accra. The Accra guys, they may even be more laid back than those from Bolga. But the Tamale guy will tell you, you have no idea what you are dealing with. You have no idea what you are dealing with. Yes. I tying into the NEDCO example you are giving, Nyankpala. I hear Nyankpala is the most troublesome spot.
Just recently, we put the whole of Nyankpala
off. Yes.
For a number of this, their chief, their elders came to the office. In fact, we really spoke to them.
Yes.
So by the time, sometimes it's the orientation of the people. So you have people who think that it's a government thing. So
they can
do
whatever they want, with it.
And forgetting that whatever they do there it impacts even they themselves before it gets to network. So the kinds of interconnections that goes there, the kind of illegalities that was going on there. You had frequent outages, transformers blowing.
Yeah.
There was a transformer that got blown, it changed it the following day, it got blown again, it changed the following. So we just put the whole because it needed a radical approach. You couldn't have done it any other way. So when the whole place was put off, then they slept in darkness for a number of days. They began to ask themselves questions. The chiefs, the elders, opinion leaders came to the office, and we made them understand the consequence of what they're doing. Yes, so Yampala alone, you sell, let's say 10, like we buy 10 cities worth of credit from, because we also buy from Crypto and VRA. So you buy like 10, before you even start selling, 50% is gone. You don't know where it is going to. So which business will survive with you go and buy your goods? 50% is already gone. Then the rest of the 50% you are supposed to sell it. And so in that case, you are not even thinking about profits.
Survival.
And that's 50%. There's so much illegalities on it. People will not even pay their light bill. So it's not sustainable. Once it's not sustainable, why do you continue to supply?
Yeah, supply to them. Cut them off.
So once they begin to get these kinds of understanding, then the chief himself, his orientation changed. Then anytime we come there, he himself will come out and help us look for
those
where
people.
the illegalities are. Yeah, so I think sometimes it's the orientation, but before you get to that point, you need to follow the radical approach, unlike other places.
Yeah. Very, very practical example. Any other? Culture. So culture, look at it this way, culture, and I like the first point. I'm driving you towards, I'm going to drive you, and I'm going to do that to almost everybody here, bit by bit, towards your thesis or dissertation topic, culture, technology, and organizational performance. Just be thinking around it, and we use NETCO as a case study, especially with their smart metering system. Or culture, technology, organizational performance, and that I don't know how you guys call it technically, electricity theft. Yeah, these three, it becomes 4 components. Let's look at it that way. And I'm going to I've virtually come to the end of the lecture, but I'm going to digress a bit. What's the time? What time are we supposed to end? The lunch time is what? Okay. Now, your project work, I want you to look at it with this perspective. During your undergraduate, you would have done project work where you collected data and you did some bar charts, pie charts. We won't do that. Completely off the radar. We are going to do bar chart or pie chart. Maybe we just want to understand the demographics, how many people, but that ends it. What I want each and every one of you to do is to examine some constructs. When I say construct, this is what I mean. In his case, electricity theft or pilferage in northern Ghana or losses. How do you measure that? You see that it will be difficult, but I would want those working from NETCO to measure something like this in their work, and also technology, and then organizational performance and all that. So that whatever you are going to do in the end will be relevant when you go back to work, or maybe you are due that promotion and they are telling, oh, you have mastered. So somebody makes a mistake and just ask, what did you learn from your MBA? Your project work alone should be able to speak for you. And let me take it this way. So how do you measure the electricity theft? The sort of concepts I want us to look at would be concepts that we cannot directly measure, but we'll use something else to measure them. She works in a bank, customer satisfaction. How do you measure? You will have to use certain things to measure it. Are you getting it? You work with NIA. There are things about NIA, renewal or something, or replacements. There are a lot of things you cannot measure. People will struggle to measure them. So technically, when we have constructs like electricity theft, laugh is also a kind of satisfaction. It's a construct. These are the sort of things. And you cannot measure them directly. You will have to use what we call a proxy to measure them. So for instance, satisfaction, AGB, customer satisfaction. The only way you can measure customer satisfaction is to check how fast they respond to you when you go to the bank. How quickly they call the customer line, they pick it up. How nicely the teller speaks to you. So that it means that there are a number of things you can use to measure that. Electricity theft. How do you measure that? If your meter is not running and you have electricity, then it means that you could, yeah. So when your guys go to the field, there are certain things they use to measure that, this guy, he's stealing. Are you getting it? So those would be the indicators to what? To measuring theft. And in your case, the indicators to measuring what? The satisfaction. In all our organizations, and this is what I want to encourage you to. All of us, the topics should be related to where you are working. One, it will be easier for you to collect data. Two, you would understand exactly what you are doing. And what I want you to do is to understand the research process. So if the phenomenon you are looking at is already known to you, you will not have difficulty trying to understand it, so that you'll be able to pick and understand the research process clearly. I hope I'm making sense. Yes.
In my case, if I want to choose a topic like this, how the judicial service can leverage on technology.
Okay.
To get feedback from court users.
Okay.
In terms of our service, like what they think.
Okay.
How satisfied are they in terms of what?
So we are looking at it. So can you say it again, please?
I'm saying that how judicial service leverage on technology.
So one, we have technology.
To get the feedback from court users.
Okay, so feedback is to
in terms of their satisfaction.
So technology feedback
In terms of their satisfaction.
Satisfaction.
Our service delivery.
Service delivery.
And how we can improve.
Okay, so those ones will come. So we are looking at about 4 things there: technology, feedback mechanisms. Do you call them customers?
No.
Court, so we call them court user satisfaction. And then judicial service, I'll call it judicial service delivery. Yeah. So assuming I have this technology, feedback mechanisms, court user satisfaction, and judicial service delivery. So it means I have 4 constructs. So now I'll now put the question, but we are just coming up with a topic like that. So we are looking at how technology influences feedback, technology and feedback, how technology and feedback mechanisms can affect client, court user satisfaction and judicial service delivery. Do you understand? So we are looking at how technology and feedback mechanisms can impact court user satisfaction and judicial service delivery. Then our case study will be courts, Northern region. Courts, Northern region. So have you written it down?
I'm trying to.
I've not also written. What I've just written is the component. So, and you see, coming out with a topic, you see the way we have done it. I'll do that with everybody, either one-on-one or in a group like this. Everybody, I'll do that with everybody. The idea is to let you understand that you just don't sit down and pick a topic. Or let somebody do. Look, this topic that we have, you won't get a grandfather. I bet you won't get. If we go through putting your topics together, none of you will get a grandfather. And that's what I want.
Good afternoon, bro.
Yes, good afternoon.
Prof, please, with regards to the banking system to aspects,
Yes.
recently there is a new development. I don't know whether it has been in other banks, but at Absa Bank too.
Okay.
There is a system that they have installed that help customers to move within the banking hall.
Okay.
We call it a queue management system.
Queue.
So it allows the customers when they walk in, they'll key in, select a number, go and sit down. When it gets to their time,
then yes,
the teller will call them.
Okay.
So with this particular system, it measures the speed the teller uses in serving the customer.
Okay.
And it allows the customer to be able to give back a feedback, to read the teller, and also to rate whatever service that he or she has been offered within the bank.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Do you work in a bank?
Yes, please. I'm a teller at Absawa branch.
So let's be looking at a queue management system. That is the IT component. And remember, I'm not sure if the first lecture you were part, I said that for those of us in MIS, for your topic to be MIS related, there must be a technology component. You were not there, I'm repeating it. There must. In your case, we said technology, but that technology component will identify the specific technology component. Are you getting it? So in your case, the technology component is a queue management system. We are looking at customer satisfaction, not so.
Yes, please.
So we'll have to look for other constructs within the bank. That would be interesting.
No, okay, Prof.
Is your bank paying a lot for this queue management system? You know?
Actually, I don't know the cost.
So let's look at this queue management system and crowding in the banking hall. Overcrowding in the banking hall and customer satisfaction.
Actually, it has helped a lot because as tellers know that they will be measured based on what they are doing within the banking hall. So
I agree with you, but
yes.
Are there not instances where this queuing system is working, but the bank is full? The banking hall is full.
There have been a instance.
So one cannot.
And there is sometimes a malfunctions in them, and there are certain gaps that we usually identify when.
So I want you to note these things down so that we can discuss further. Queuing management system, satisfaction, and crowding.
Okay.
These three things. Because the reason why I'm interested in this is the fact that there's actually no empirical evidence to suggest that because your bank has implemented this queuing management system, there's no crowding. There is still crowding. But you should be able to tell maybe part of your recommendations when the crowding occurs, even though the queue management system is still functioning.
Okay, Prof.
So just note it down. So we are just generating ideas. So we'll do this for everybody. But not today. We'll not do that for everybody today. Yes. Okay. The problem is, how are you going to measure that? You think about the artificial intelligence. If it's in an organizational context, in your organization, how are you going to measure that?
I'm thinking of artificial intelligence and customer management system.
Okay. In NI. In NI.
Yes.
Okay, so back to my question. How are you going to measure artificial intelligence? You guys gather a lot of data. Yes. Of what use do you put the data? So that's where the artificial intelligence things will have, you will hit the block there.
There's a lot of potential with the kind of data
A lot, but plenty. But what do you use it for? So how we are going to measure the artificial intelligence there is going to be our issue. But we should still be able to think around it and get something interesting. We have to think around it. Yes. Where do you work? I know you work in UDA. I'm coming. Ghana Airport, yes. Ghana Airport will get something. Especially this new airport. The way you guys did bill us the massa.
For maintenance.
Yeah, Christmas there is budget. So we, yes, what I have. There's something like that. I think that like an impact of technology.
So impact of technology, security awareness. What kind of technology are you looking at? Do we have them? In UDS? Okay. Not on the city campus.
Yeah, currently there are still in the pipeline.
Installing them.
No, what I
It's a long pipeline.
What I mean that yes, currently we have about 3 campuses.
Okay.
And we have one.
Okay. Well established. Okay.
Then the city campus,
Camera campus too. Okay.
So that's what I was looking at.
I'm interested in that. So technology, so closed circuit cameras, security. You mentioned something. Security awareness. Yes. So the idea is not to catch thieves. In this case, in the case of the topic, the awareness that people feel safe in that environment because they see. Yeah, so we have the technology component, we have security awareness. Then the third one. So, but I'm thinking about, you see, the reason why I keep asking, if you mention 2 things and I keep asking for the third one is, we are looking at the possibility of something mediating one thing, the other. So you have 2 components, technology, CCTV, that's one. Security awareness, that's the other. So the impact of this one, security awareness, that's basic undergraduate.
Okay, then let me add security awareness and training programs for.
So if you have training programs, students will be out.
Yeah, training programs, okay, students will be out.
Yeah. You see? So you keep the 2, and let's think carefully and add 3 or 4, the second and the third one, or a third and a fourth one, or just, so minimum 3 constructs. We'll be able to have a model that we can play around and tell whether this and this A and B has an effect. B and C has an, if we have A, B, C, so it means that A and C can have an effect. B and C can have an effect. And A can have an effect on C through B. I get it. Then it becomes a little bit complex. But if we just have A and B, that's undergraduate. This one has effect on this, positive or negative. Our study will find out it's positive. And we end there. Yes.
Since